Hey there. Hi everyone, how are you? My name is Rachel and I'm here every Friday showing up at 4 p.m. Eastern Time from the Facebook group Seize Your Passion. And I do these weekly live streams just as a way for me to sort of document my journey to seize my passion and share with you my thoughts for the week, my lessons of the week, my growth really for the week on my journey to seize my passion and achieve my goals and fulfill my dreams and continue to work on becoming the best version of myself that I can become, which is everything that Seize Your Passion is all about. So I'll get right to it this week. This week I want to talk about showing up. Hey Devin, thanks for showing up. So first of all, before I talk about how you show up, which is really the meat of what I want to talk about, you got to show up, period, in order to even talk about how you show up, right? For anything that's important to you, anything that you make a priority in your life, whether it's the people in your life, your friends, your family, your goals that you want to achieve, the dreams that you want to fulfill, or working on your own personal growth and becoming your best self, that takes showing up consistently. You got to show up, and I understand, believe me, more than you know, how life happens and shit happens. And sometimes it's really hard to show up, to even just show up. Forget how you show up. Today, for example, was really, 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 really hard for me to even show up. But at the end of the day, 9 out of 10 times, as hard as it is, it comes down to your choice. My choice to either show up or not show up. Now, of course, there are extraneous circumstances and things that happen in life that are beyond our control and beyond our choice. But again, 9 out of 10 times, you actually have a choice of whether to show up or not show up. And I choose to consistently show up. And I work on doing that every single time, consistently, for anything that's important to me, whether it's the people in my life that I love, my friends, my family, or my goals. And this is one of my goals and is a priority for me. And as hard as it was for me today to do this live stream at 4 p.m., I showed up because that was a choice. As hard as it was still my choice. So first, you got to show up consistently. That's what it takes, plain and simple, okay? Then, what I really wanted to talk about today was how you show up. And the reason I decided to talk about this today is because I've gotten a lot of feedback and a lot of, constructive criticism from people that I often, that maybe I'm a little too unrelatable because every time I do these, I always have my makeup on and I look so put together and my hair is always just right. And maybe I should try, doing these live streams, in my sweats with no makeup and my hair undone. And it got me thinking about how you show up and why that's so important, right? Because first of all, that's not me. It's inauthentic. That's A, because this is how I do things. First of all, I show up consistently. And second of all, when I show up, I choose to show up putting my best foot forward. And that includes the exterior. And it sounds superficial, but it's actually really deep. And here's why, okay? I'll use acting as an example, okay? Because that's my background. And when you're an actor or an actress, there's two ways of getting into character and developing your role, okay? There's one methodology, which was actually my methodology. It worked better for me as an actress in getting into character, was working from the inside out, right? First, you get into the head of the character, the psychology of the character, the emotional intelligence of the character, how that character thinks, how they feel, everything that goes on inside of that character. And then once you sort of figure that stuff out and work on that, you go to the exterior components of that character. You get the costume, you figure out what the physicality of the character is, how they walk, how they talk, how they hold themselves. And then that's how you build this character, right? As an actor. Now, the second methodology, which a lot of actors use, it did not work for me, but it works for many others way better than that one, is working from the outside in, okay? Which means first, before anything else, when they're trying to get into character and get into role, they start from the physicality of the character. How they dress, how they walk, how they talk, how they hold themselves. And that feeds what the character feels and how the character thinks. And so they just simply work from the outside in instead of the inside out. Now, in life, in my opinion, you got to do a little bit of both. And just like different actors have different methodologies that work for them, so too us as people have different tools and methodologies that work for us. For me as a person, I find that a great tool in getting into character, so to speak, for whatever it is I want to portray that day or achieve that day, is actually working from the outside in. So that means dressing the part and how I show up. So believe me, there are many days, including today, that I much rather stay makeup free, in my sweats, in my gym clothes, not even look in the mirror. And there are many days that I do that I sit at my home desk and I don't go into the office and I don't look in the mirror once. And it's not about, by the way, it has nothing to do really with looking in the mirror. It's not about how you guys are perceiving me. Of course, that has a little bit to do with it. I mean, we all have an ego on some level and we all want to be perceived in a positive way by others and look our best for others. But I would say that in my 20s, that was the main driver. Today, the main driver for me, always showing up the way I show up and trying to look my best and working from the outside in, is because of the way it makes me feel. When I go into the office or when I have a meeting or when I show up for you guys every week here, when I get dressed and put on my makeup and put my best foot forward from the outside in, it feeds the way I feel inside. If I feel confident and I feel empowered and I feel beautiful and I feel like I look my best, then it affects how I behave and who I become. And, you know, it's not even just about women, because I didn't even know this, but in the military, they have the same kind of methodology. One of the main methodologies in military, which, you know, historically was all men, is, for the first notion, is dress the part. You have to dress the part and look a certain way and act a certain way in order to be a certain way. And you can't have one without the other, right? It can't be just, it can't be surfaced and shallow. It has to feed into it, and it has to work for you. And it does work for me. You know, I remember when I first went back to work, after taking a few years off from work, and about 3 or 6 months after I had my second daughter, I went back. I started getting back into the workforce, and I took it slow, and I went into work about 3 days a week. And I remember that just having to get up and get dressed and put makeup on for the first time in I don't know how long, and put on adult businesswoman clothes as opposed to mommy clothes. I can't even tell you how that made me feel. It was so empowering, that act alone. And when I did show up on those days, dressed the part, looking the part, I felt the part, and therefore I became the part. And so that's why it's so important not only to show up consistently, and again, 9 out of 10 times, it is your choice. You know, things happen in life and things get hard. But if something's important to you, if it's a priority, if it's a goal, then showing up consistently despite those hardships and making that choice is important. So you got to show up. And then how do you show up? It's important. It's important because of how people perceive you, and perception often is reality. That's a big part of it. But it's really, really important because of how it makes you feel. If you dress the part, then you start feeling the part, and then you start becoming the part. Whatever that part is, right? Whatever that character is. If it's conquering the world, if it's building a business, if it's being your best, putting your best foot forward. And part of that for me is dressing the part on the exterior and working from the outside in. If I was sitting here today, given the day I've had and the week I've had and the month I've had, and I didn't get dressed for this, and I stayed in my gym clothes, which I was in an hour before, and I stayed makeup free with my hair up, I would not feel the empowerment and the inspiration that I feel right now. I would not feel strong enough to be this vulnerable and to share with you what I'm sharing. And I would not be me. I would not be my best me. And that would not be authentic to who I am and how I show up. So that's why I show up the way I do, because that's me, and that's a great tool for me. And I think it works for a lot of us, men and women. You know, I think women, for some reason, well, there's a lot of double standards, right? Both ways. But, you know, men don't show up for work, you know, in gym clothes. They wear suits every day too. You know, why? Because you got to dress the part. It's part of feeling the part and becoming the part. And maybe that's not authentic for you, right? Maybe your part, maybe what you do best is in your yoga clothes with your hair up with no makeup on. Great. Then that's you, and that's authentic, and that's wonderful. Then you're dressing your part. But I'm dressing my part. That's how I show up. And that's it. So show up, consistently, first and foremost, regardless of the hardship. And again, 9 out of 10 times, it is your choice of whether you choose to show up or not. And then how do you show up? You know, and oftentimes just dressing the part and just putting your best foot forward and working from the outside in is a great tool. And it has to work both ways. You know, you can't have one without the other. Obviously, you have to work on the inner stuff too, but working on the exterior first can help you work on that inner stuff. It's just a tool. So that's it. So I'm glad I chose to show up today, despite the fact that it was hard for me to do so. And hey, Josh Sugarman, oh my God, how are you? Cool. Wow, how you been? Oh my God, I want to talk to you now. Hey, Susan. Hey, Michael. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, E. Diamond Delner. I really appreciate you guys joining. I want you to know that all the feedback that I've been getting and all the support and encouragement really, really means a lot to me. And even though, you know, people think that, you know, I dress the part all the time, and I give off this image sometimes of like I always have it together and everything is great. It's not the case, and it's not the case for anyone. You know, we all go through tough times, and it's really great to know that you guys are there to support and appreciate it. It really helps. It really helps. And know that everyone goes through it. Everyone goes through tough times, you know, and you know, don't judge a book by its cover. So that's why I show up the way I show up. Have a great weekend, guys. Seize your passion, follow your dreams, make it happen, be consistent, show up, and think about how you show up. Ciao, guys. Bye.